I play Lizzie in the movie. I'm the token Canadian. And the hardest part for me was retaining my Canadian accent, listening to all these beautiful, plummy British accents all around me. I grew up in British Columbia, and then we moved to Ontario, and I had a pretty idyllic childhood. Well, except for having really skinny, horrible braids and a really alarming overbite. My mother was a writer and an amateur actress. Her name was Lorna. And my father, Bill, was an oceanographer. I was pretty close to my older brother, Bill, and he became an award-winning journalist. And life was good. And then my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she died when I was 11. When I look back on the women that I looked up to, I had wonderful role models. I think my mother, especially, here was a very creative woman who had a family, and there was so much laughing in our house. I don't know, maybe that's why I like being a comedian. And then my Aunt Jessie, who traveled all over the world and encouraged me to do what I wanted to do what I had a passion to do. So going into the theater was a wonderful escape for me because it took me away from something I'd lost, and it gave me something to fill my time and my imagination. And I think my mother would have been really proud to think that I had gone into a profession that she had enjoyed so much. So I took a little part of her with me, I think. Tarragon was a great step for me because I was there for the very first season. I did Creeps, which was really an iconic Canadian production. And I did several productions there and managed to garner about 3 Dora Mavor-Moore nominations from that. Very satisfying. One of my favorite shows from a long time ago was Orders from Bergdorf, which was a lot of fun because you got to wear a lot of incredible hats that were made for the show. Oh Coward was another musical that I did in Winnipeg, and that was a lot of fun because I was a newlywed, and my husband came with me, and we had a very nice summer in Winnipeg. Being invited to be a member of the Shaw Festival, which is an internationally acclaimed acting company, was a huge step forward for my career. It was a leap. I had, the artistic director, Christopher Newton, had invited me to do 2 leads and a supporting role in the first season, and working with that company, those actors that can do what they do on stage and to have a chance to do it 6 years going was just absolutely terrific. Then I did my first television series, which was The Campbells, and that was quite a lot of fun. And I played Spinner's mother in Degrassi and got a chance to play with a really wonderful young company who just are so relaxed and so great, and the scripts were terrific. And eventually, I got to do Wind at My Back for 6 seasons, and we did a Christmas special, and getting to know that company was a real gift. And Toppy is a very complicated kind of character because she starts off very skinny around the mouth, and you see her thaw right in front of you, and it's always wonderful to watch that kind of journey with a character.
Because having read your brilliant play, cover to cover, I realize that I am Louisa. The pretty young school teacher. Yes. You see it, don't you, Max? I understand this woman. Her urge to break out of the confines of a stifling existence. Her desire to escape the life-draining ennui that drove her to Europe in the first place. I am Louisa, with every fiber of my soul.
But Louisa is 23.
How important is that? Couldn't it be changed? Couldn't she be 25?
And the Gemini goes to Robin Craig, Wind at My Back.
I am honored to be one of the nominees tonight, and I congratulate all of us with this. Thank you.
What wouldn't you like about doing that show? It was fantastic. Made lifelong friends. Great, great. Well, you don't always stand up during a performance as well. Sometimes you're thrown something that is a bit more of a challenge. And I did one show at Young People's Theatre in a wheelchair. And that was a completely different thing to have to do, especially working with a 9-year-old. But the nice thing was I got to sit down the entire time. But maneuvering a wheelchair through a set can be really challenging. But I got it, and it was fun to do. And she was a nasty little piece of business, too. So it's always fun to play a villain, too. And a villain in a wheelchair is even better. My husband, David, wrote a wonderful play called Having Hope at Home. And when he was writing it, he kept me in mind for one of the parts. And when he first started writing it, of course, I was the younger person, but it took so long to get on stage that I'm now playing the mother, which is perfect. And I've done it 3 times. And each time I find something new with Jane and enjoy playing her very much. She's tailor-made to me. Mrs. Lind is a character that I think I could probably play until I'm dead. They don't care what age you are, and I've done 4 versions of it. I've done Anne and Gilbert, I've done Anne of Green Gables, and I've done Paul Ledoux's production as well. And all of them have a different take on Mrs. Lind, and she's a wonderful character. She, of course, famous from the Anne of Green Gables books, and one that I just loved doing in every incarnation. The Power of Three is a film about 3 friends who have lost sight of their dreams a little bit and come together to regain that hope and that excitement about their future. And we see in the film how they accomplish that. And it makes you, it's very funny, and it's very poignant, it's very touching, and it's very moving. And you just love them at the end. You love what they've done and what they've accomplished together. I had an offer to do something else, something I've been wanting to do for 45 years, and it was kind of in the mix. And when I thought about doing Power of Three, it wasn't even a contest. This was such a wonderful part. And it was such an extraordinary project, and it mirrored so much of what we are all going through at this stage that I had to do it. I had to. I loved playing Lizzie in this film. She's very competent in her work. She's very eager. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's a lawyer, give her that, and she's great, but she's a little nervous, out of her realm. So she's vulnerable and very genuine.
Can I lose 20 pounds in a week?
Of course not. Then I'm not going.
Lizzie has not only lost herself mentally and emotionally, she's lost herself physically, too. She's certainly added at least 20 pounds, and she doesn't want her friends to see her the way that she's become. And goodness knows, if I ever had to go to a high school reunion, the first thing I'd say is, do you think I could lose 20 pounds? So, boy, did I relate to that line. Yeah, and I'm not going, absolutely. If I can't lose 20 pounds in about 3 days, I'm not going. Wardrobe was really funny because being an independent film and very low budget, we brought a lot of our wardrobe, and I flew it over with me, and unfortunately, or maybe it was very interesting to note that my wardrobe really fit Lizzie's wardrobe, the one where she had no fashion statement. My clothes were perfect. That was very alarming. It was such a pleasure to work with Toya, who played Michelle, and Brimilda, who played Olivia, both totally different people. And there's a lot of laughing and a lot of fun in between takes, and we got really close. We were dealing with intimate relationships, and we were very there for each other all the time. Filming sometimes brings out your lack of any kind of knowledge that you have with anything mechanical. I'm terrible with props.
Come on. Yeah, it's on the other side.
I wasn't there the day that they filmed the scene with the crew coming over the hill, but when I saw it in the rushes, I was so moved by it, even thinking about it now, it made me cry, because the way that the writer, that Anne has set that up, it's everybody coming to Michelle's rescue. She's not alone, that she is supported by all the people who had respect for her before. It's really real. And you think about what would happen if your friends did that. And we've all had situations where that's happened. That's something that any audience can relate to. It's a wonderful moment. I would say that The Power of Three appeals to everybody, especially to the demographic of women over 50. But when we've played it, the men in the audience have loved it just as much. And the young women have loved it as well, because it shows different generations working together towards one goal. So everybody has a part in it, and everybody relates. It's such a feel-good kind of movie. The audiences come out with a big smile on their face.